The rain started about an hour ago. It always sounds different up here than it does on the ground. Quieter, more patient. Good evening. I am Captain Marcus Brooks. 28 years in the sky. I have seen passengers cry, sleep, propose marriage, and argue over armrests like they were property lines. But I have never seen anything quite like what happened on Flight 1149 out of Dallas. A woman in a window seat, a uniform that believed it had already decided who she was, and 22 minutes that changed more than a seating chart. Let me tell you the story. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport on a Tuesday morning carries a particular kind of energy, not the holiday chaos of December or the exhausted optimism of summer. Just the dense, purposeful motion of people who have somewhere to be and are already calculating whether they will make it. Terminal D was running 12 minutes behind on everything. The coffee lines were long. The gate screens blinked with polite apologies. A toddler had escaped from her stroller somewhere near gate D24, and a gate agent was helping recover her with the practiced calm of someone who had seen stranger things before 9 in the morning. At gate D31, passengers waited for first-class boarding on Meridian Airlines Flight 1149 to New York LaGuardia. Seated in the priority row, near the window that looked out onto the jet bridge, was a woman named Dr. Renee Okafor, 47 years old, Nigerian-American. Born in Houston, educated at Rice University and then Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, where she had completed a fellowship in cardiac surgery that her attending physician had once described as the most technically precise work he had seen in 30 years of teaching. She wore a charcoal blazer over a white blouse, dark slacks, and flat, comfortable shoes she had bought specifically for travel because she had learned a long time ago that airports punished heels. Her hair was natural, pulled back into a simple bun. No jewelry except for the slim silver earrings her mother had given her the day she earned her medical license. She had a canvas tote on her lap containing a medical journal, a partially eaten granola bar, a pair of reading glasses, and a boarding pass for seat 2A. She was not on vacation. She was flying to New York to present a research paper at the American College of Cardiology's annual conference. The paper, co-authored with 2 colleagues at University of Texas Southwestern, proposed a new, minimally invasive approach to a specific type of pediatric valve repair. If the results held under peer review, they could change how a particular group of children with congenital heart defects were treated before age 5. She had been working on it for 3 years. She was not thinking about any of that at the moment. She was thinking about whether the granola bar was enough to hold her until she could get something real in LaGuardia. The gate agent called first-class boarding. Renee gathered her tote, stood, and walked toward the scanner. The agent, a young man with a tired face and a practiced smile, scanned her boarding pass. The machine chimed green. "Good morning, Dr. Okafor. Seat 2A. Have a great flight." She thanked him and walked into the jet bridge. The first-class cabin of a Meridian wide-body was small and quiet. 4 rows. Cream leather seats with enough room between them to suggest the airline understood that some people required the luxury of not touching strangers. Warm lighting. A small orchid on the forward galley counter that Renee always thought was an unexpectedly elegant touch. She placed her tote in the overhead bin, settled into 2A, and opened her journal. 2 minutes later, a man named Bradford Ellis walked into the cabin. 55, silver-haired, the kind of broad, unhurried physical confidence that comes from 40 years of being the largest personality in any room he entered. He wore a fitted gray sport coat over a blue shirt, no tie. His carry-on was a tan leather duffel that looked expensive in the way that things look expensive when they are designed to look effortless. Bradford ran Ellis Meridian Partners, a private equity firm based in Dallas that had made its money acquiring undervalued regional businesses and extracting value from them in ways that made shareholders happy and employees nervous. He had been flying first class on Meridian Airlines for 11 years. He had a titanium rewards card, a personal contact in the executive relations office, and a genuine belief that consistency in life was a virtue. He always sat in 2A, not because it was always assigned to him, because he always expected it to be. Bradford stopped in the aisle beside row 2. He looked at Renee. He looked at the seat. He looked back at Renee. His expression did not become hostile immediately. It moved through a shorter journey than that. Confusion, assumption, irritation, all of it in approximately 2 seconds. "I think there's been a mistake," Bradford said. Renee looked up from her journal. She did not know him. She had no reason to know him. She saw a man in a gray sport coat standing in the aisle looking at her seat the way people look at parking spaces they have decided are theirs. "My boarding pass says 2A, she said. Bradford's jaw shifted. "Yes, so does mine." She held hers up. Bradford studied it with the particular attention of a man who is looking for an error he already believes exists. Their boarding passes said the same thing. Seat 2A. The same seat. 2 confirmed passengers, 1 booking error, 1 airplane. That was the actual situation. What happened next was a different situation entirely. Bradford looked toward the forward galley. A flight attendant named Stephen Cross appeared, as if summoned. Stephen was 38, with the neat presentation and slightly mechanical smile of someone who had been in the service industry long enough to have built customer friendliness as a structural feature rather than a feeling. He looked at Bradford first. "Mr. Ellis, good morning. Is everything all right?" The warmth in his voice when he said Bradford's name was not subtle enough to be subtle. Renee heard it. She had heard that particular warmth pointed in that particular direction many times before. It was the warmth of recognition, the kind that arrived before you spoke, because of what you looked like when you walked in. "There seems to be a seating issue," Bradford said. He said it the way a man says a sentence when he expects someone else to resolve it before he finishes. Stephen turned to Renee. He looked at her boarding pass with his eyebrows slightly elevated, the universal facial expression of a person who has already decided the resolution and is now performing the procedure. "Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass?" She handed it to him. Stephen looked at it, then at his tablet, then at Bradford's pass. He looked again. His face did a small, careful thing. The recalculation of someone who had walked into a story expecting a simple plot and found a complication. "There does appear to be a double booking," Stephen said. He said it the way you say something when you are hoping the words will do the work of actually explaining what needs to happen next. He looked at Renee. That look said everything. Not in words, not in any sentence he would ever have to defend. Just in direction. The gentle, institutional, deeply familiar pressure of a gaze that said, "You are the one we would prefer to ask." Renee set her journal flat on her tray table. She did the math she had been doing her whole life. Fast, accurate, grim. She was the one being looked at, not Bradford, not the man with the rewards card and the leather duffel, and the name that produced warmth from strangers in uniforms. Her. "I booked this seat 3 weeks ago," she said. Her voice was level, not cold, not aggressive. The voice of a woman who has learned that composure is both her right and her protection. Stephen nodded. "Of course. We are going to work this out." He said it the way a parent says it to a child, which was not the right register. Renee caught it. So did the woman in 1B across the aisle, who had been watching over the edge of her hardcover without appearing to. "What does working it out look like?" Renee asked. Stephen shifted his weight. "We do have business class availability." Bradford exhaled slowly. "Good. That works." He said it the way people say something when they assume it has already been decided. Renee looked at Stephen, then at Bradford, then back at Stephen. "You are suggesting I move to business class. We would of course upgrade your experience," Stephen said. Renee's hands rested flat on the tray table. She did not raise her voice. That decision was deliberate and came from somewhere deep and trained. "I paid for first class," she said. "I am sitting in first class." The cabin went very quiet. Bradford was not a man who escalated dramatically. He had people for that. His version of escalation was a particular kind of patience, the patience of someone who has always eventually gotten what they wanted and is waiting for the timeline to confirm itself. He leaned against the seat back across the aisle, crossed his arms, and looked at Stephen with the expression of a man who has hired and fired enough people to know that silence from authority reads as permission. Stephen felt it. He tapped his tablet. "There may be a system error. Let me pull up both bookings." He pulled them up. He stared at the screen long enough that his face told the story before his mouth did. Both bookings were legitimate. Both were confirmed. Both had been processed by Meridian's reservation system on different days for the same seat because of a back-end error the airline's IT team had been warned about in an internal memo 6 weeks earlier and had not yet corrected. Neither passenger had done anything wrong. That was the actual problem. The question was not who had made a mistake. The question was whose discomfort the airline was going to prioritize. "Let me get our cabin supervisor," Stephen said. He walked quickly toward the rear, grateful for somewhere to go. Bradford glanced at Renee. "Look, I am not trying to make this difficult. You are standing in the aisle," Renee said, "instead of sitting in your assigned seat." Bradford blinked. "My usual seat." Usual is not the same as assigned. The woman in 1B turned a page she had not actually read. Bradford's expression shifted, not into anger, into the particular expression of a man confronting a sentence he cannot refute and is deciding whether that is the other person's problem. "I have been flying this airline for over a decade," he said. Renee looked at him steadily. "That is between you and your frequent flyer account." Bradford opened his mouth, then closed it. The cabin supervisor arrived. Her name was Donna Hargrove, 51, 23 years with Meridian. She had the composed face of someone who had handled enough in-flight situations to have stopped being surprised by any single version of human behavior. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back. Her uniform was pressed. Her eyes were quick. She looked at both passengers. She looked at Stephen's tablet. She read the situation in approximately 8 seconds. "Mr. Ellis, good morning," she said. Bradford nodded, still expecting the tide. Donna turned to Renee. "And you are Dr. Okafor?" "Yes." Donna looked at both boarding passes side by side. Her face did the same recalculation Stevens had done, but something in her expression was different, quieter, more honest. "There was a double booking on this seat," Donna said. "Both reservations are valid." Bradford uncrossed his arms. "Then we move the one that was booked later." "When were you booked?" Donna asked. He pulled out his phone and scrolled. His confirmation email. He found it. His face changed. Dr. Okafor's booking was 17 days earlier. Donna looked at Bradford carefully. "Mr. Ellis, your booking came second." Bradford stared at the screen as if he could change what it said. The woman in 1B turned another unread page. "The correct procedure," Donna said, "when there is a double booking, is for the passenger with the later confirmation to be offered alternate accommodations." Bradford's composure developed a hairline fracture. "I have a titanium rewards card. I have a personal contact in executive relations. I have been a loyal customer of this airline since before that seat was manufactured." Donna absorbed all of that. "I understand," she said, "and I appreciate your loyalty. Our team should have caught this error before boarding. I apologize for that." She turned to Renee. "Dr. Okafor, this seat is correctly yours. I am sorry for the confusion." The sentence was simple. Clean. The right sentence. Stephen stood behind Donna, processing the gap between what he had been about to do and what Donna had just done. The gap was not comfortable. Bradford looked at Donna for a long moment. Then he looked at Renee. Then he picked up his leather duffel and moved one row back, toward the seat Stephen gestured to, without another word. The cabin exhaled. But the story was not over. Because Stephen Cross had already sent a message from his tablet to the gate podium before Donna arrived. A routine notation. Passenger dispute, seat 2A, resolved pending supervisor. And that notation had been seen by the gate lead, who had flagged it to the operations center, because Meridian's current protocol required any passenger conflict notation to be monitored in real time following a series of viral incidents the previous year. And the operations center had a supervisor on duty who saw the name Bradford Ellis and recognized it from the titanium account alerts that flagged high-value members when their travel experience was disrupted. Which meant that somewhere in the operations center at Dallas-Fort Worth, a phone call was about to be made. And that phone call was going to make Donna's correct decision considerably more complicated. The call reached Donna's earpiece 12 minutes after she had closed the matter. They were still at the gate, delayed for a maintenance check on a hydraulic indicator. Passengers had settled. Bradford was in 3A. Renee was reading her journal. Stephen was performing service with the careful efficiency of a man recalibrating. Donna stepped into the forward galley and pressed her earpiece once. The voice on the line was Gary Tillman, Meridian's Regional Operations Director. 60 years old, managed by metrics. Uncomfortable with complications he had not approved. "Donna," he said, "tell me about the situation in first class on 1149. She told him, clearly, accurately. Double booking, confirmed earlier reservation, correct passenger in the seat. Gary listened. Then he said, "Bradford Ellis is a top-tier account. He generates roughly $400,000 annually in Meridian revenue. He has a direct relationship with our Executive Relations VP. Donna kept her voice even. "The double booking was our error, Gary. Dr. Okafor had the earlier confirmation." Gary was quiet for a moment. "Can we offer Dr. Okafor a significant upgrade on her next flight? Full refund on this ticket? We have a premium suite in business class available." Donna looked through the galley curtain at row 2. Renee was underlining something in her journal with a quiet mechanical pencil. "She is not asked to move," Donna said. "I know," Gary said. "I am asking if we can make it attractive enough that she wants to." Donna felt something firm up inside her chest. She had spent 23 years in this industry. She had watched enough situations fold in the direction of the person with the louder account, the more recognizable name, the more obvious claim to belonging. She had done the folding herself, more than once, more than she was comfortable admitting at 51. "Gary," she said, "if I go back and ask her to move, I am telling her that her valid ticket and her earlier booking mean less than another passenger's account value. I am not going to do that." Gary's silence had texture. "I understand your position," he finally said, "but I need to flag for you that Bradford Ellis has already contacted Executive Relations directly." Donna straightened. "When?" "From his seat, about 4 minutes ago." She looked back through the curtain. Bradford had his phone to his ear, his expression turned away from the cabin. She had assumed he had accepted it. She had been wrong about that. "What did Executive Relations say?" she asked. "They are reviewing," Gary said. "They asked me to hold the situation for 15 minutes pending a senior decision." "Hold the situation," Donna repeated. She knew what that meant. It meant wait for someone with a larger title to tell her to undo what she had correctly done. "Gary," she said carefully, "if we reverse this decision, there will be witnesses. The passengers around that seat have seen everything. Some of them are likely recording. One of them, I believe, is a journalist. He has a press badge on his camera bag in the overhead." Gary was quiet again. "And," Donna added, "Dr. Okafor has not raised her voice, demanded anything, or behaved in any way that could be called disruptive. She simply stayed in her seat." Another silence. "What is she?" Gary asked. "What does she do?" Donna looked at the boarding information on her tablet. "Physician. The passenger manifest shows she is presenting at the American College of Cardiology conference in New York." Gary processed that. "A doctor," he said. "A cardiologist," Donna said. "A surgeon, actually, based on the conference registration." Gary's voice changed. Not dramatically, but enough. "Do not move her," he said. "I had no intention of it. Donna, document everything." "Already doing it." She ended the call and stepped back into the cabin. Bradford was putting his phone away. His face had the controlled expression of a man who had made a call and was waiting for it to produce results. It had, just not the results he expected. Donna moved to row 3 and crouched beside Bradford's seat. Her voice was quiet, professional, and not unkind. "Mr. Ellis, I wanted to let you know that our operations team has reviewed the booking. The seating decision stands. Dr. Okafor will remain in 2A. Bradford looked at her. "I spoke with someone in Executive Relations." "I know," Donna said. "They reviewed it. The decision stands." Bradford's face did not collapse. Men like Bradford did not collapse. They compressed. His jaw tightened. His eyes went briefly flat. Then he said something Donna had not expected. He said quietly, "Was I wrong?" She looked at him. His voice had dropped its authority. Not entirely, but enough. "I am asking honestly," he said. "Was my booking later?" "Yes," Donna said. "By 17 days." Bradford exhaled slowly. He looked out the window at the jet bridge. He did something with his mouth that was not a smile and was not nothing. It was the expression of a man performing a small, private accounting. "That is not what I told myself," he said. Donna waited. "I told myself it was a system error on her end," Bradford said. "I walked in and I saw someone in my seat, and I made a decision about what had happened before I asked a single question." The cabin around them was quiet enough that only Donna heard him. He turned back from the window. "Do you think she noticed?" Donna held his gaze. "Yes." Bradford nodded slowly. The way men nod when they have received information they already knew and were hoping was not true. He reached into his duffel and took out a business card. He held it toward Donna. "That is my personal line," he said. "Not the titanium account number, my line. When this flight lands, I would like the opportunity to introduce myself to Dr. Okafor properly, if she has any interest in speaking." Donna took the card. "I will pass it along." "Thank you," Bradford said. He looked out the window again. In the forward galley, Stephen Cross had been close enough to hear. He stood very still, a water bottle in one hand, the curtain partly open, the texture of what he had almost done sitting across his shoulders like something heavy. Flight 1149 pushed back from gate D3 140 minutes late, which was the fault of the hydraulic indicator and nothing else. Renee Okafor was in seat 2A. Her journal was open. She had finished the granola bar. She had ordered water from Angela Morris, the replacement attendant who had been brought aboard when Donna quietly and privately arranged for Stephen Cross to take a reassignment pending a review of his conduct at boarding. Angela was 52, efficient, warm, and asked no one to prove anything before offering them a beverage. The flight to LaGuardia was 2 hours and 40 minutes. Somewhere over Tennessee, Donna walked to row 2 and crouched beside Renee's seat. "Dr. Okafor." She kept her voice low. "I want to apologize for what happened at boarding." Renee looked at her. "You resolved it correctly." Donna held her gaze. "My colleague did not. And I should have been there earlier so that you never had to sit through that first conversation." Renee was quiet for a moment. She had received apologies for moments like this one before. Some were genuinely meant. Some were delivered to manage liability. She was good at telling them apart. This one she believed. "Thank you," she said. Donna held out Bradford's card. She explained what he had said. Renee looked at the card for a long time. She turned it over, turned it back. She did not say anything charitable about Bradford. She did not say anything uncharitable. She simply took the card and placed it in the front pocket of her tote. What she actually did with it was her own business. Donna stood and returned to the galley. Renee looked back at her journal. The page she had been reading when Bradford appeared in the aisle was about a new imaging technique for pediatric echocardiograms. She had underlined 3 sentences. She picked up her mechanical pencil and kept reading. At row 3, Bradford Ellis sat with his tray table up and his leather duffel at his feet. He had not opened his phone. He was not reviewing deals or sending emails or filling his time with the performance of productivity. He was sitting with something. The specific and ungentle experience of a man who considers himself fair, confronting the evidence that fairness is not the same as awareness. He thought about the years of walking into this cabin and seeing his seat and not once wondering whether the mechanism that made his life feel seamless was seamless for everyone, or just for him. He thought about the 17 days. He had not asked about the dates. He had not needed to ask because he had already decided the answer. That was the part that stayed with him above Tennessee. Not that he had been wrong about the seat, that he had been so certain he was right that the question had not occurred to him. Outside the window, the clouds spread white and enormous in every direction. From up here, the ground was invisible. From up here, everything looked level. When the wheels touched down at LaGuardia, the cabin stirred with the familiar sounds of arrival. Seatbelts clicked open. Overhead bins rattled. Phones chimed with delayed notifications. Renee was one of the first off the plane. She walked up the jet bridge and into the terminal without looking back. She had a conference shuttle to catch, a keynote rehearsal scheduled for 4 o'clock, and a research paper that had taken 3 years to finish. She did not need the resolution to be visible to her. It had already happened. She had stayed in her seat. That was the whole of it. In the terminal, She pulled out her phone and called her colleague Marcus Webb, who was presenting the second half of their research. "We land okay?" he asked. "Fine," she said. 30 minutes out from the hotel. "Everything good?" She thought about the question for 1 step, 2 steps, 3. "Getting there," she said. Then she walked on through the terminal toward the exit, straight-backed, unhurried, carrying 3 years of work that could change how children with broken hearts were healed. The city waited outside the glass. She walked through the door into it. The rain has eased up a little. The engines are steady. The instruments look good. I have been thinking about Dr. Renee Okafor since I first heard this story, about what it costs a person to stay calm when the room is deciding things about them before they speak, about the discipline of composure when composure is the only tool that does not give anyone an excuse. She did not need to be louder. She did not need to be angrier. She did not need to perform her credentials, or her patience, or her right to exist in a seat she had paid for. She simply needed to be right, and she was, and she stayed. That is harder than it sounds. Anybody who has ever been the person in that seat knows exactly how hard that is. I have spent 28 years watching people from the front of a plane. I have learned that dignity is not loud. It does not announce itself at the gate. It does not carry a rewards card. It carries 17 days. At 35,000 feet, the clouds do not care about your account tier. The sky does not ask who usually sits where. Up here, the only question that ever matters is whether you are who you say you are. Dr. Okafor was exactly who she was. That is the story of Flight 1149. I am Captain Marcus Brooks. If this story reminded you that merit and belonging are not something anyone else gets to award you, I hope you will stay with this channel. There are more stories where this one came from. Real ones. Human ones. Subscribe and I will be right here waiting to tell them. Good night.